Have you made a mistake in your life? Have you done something that you're not proud of? Potentially, have you put yourself in a situation where you lost your freedom? For the majority of Americans, the answer is yes, that we've put ourselves in a situation where accountability came a-knocking. And the repercussions from it, they weren't something light. There's a lot of people that sit behind bars today, and they deserve it. And what they're doing with that opportunity is making a change in their own life. They're being forced on accountability. Now, there's another group of people that walk around with freedom and squander the opportunity to do something with themselves to benefit our society. They take advantage of their lives, they make mistakes, and they take no accountability for them. You don't have to be that person. You don't have to go to jail. You don't have to lose your freedom to make a change in your life. But for the ones that have lost their freedom and have done something about it to change their lives, to change the society, to create opportunities for others that have lost their freedom because of a choice that they made, I salute you. You're a special breed of individual that was willing to look their own mistakes in the face and take accountability and do something about it. And not only just for yourself, but for the benefit of our own society, because you see the value that you have and the value that our society is. For you, you're an amazing person. Don't ever give up. For the people that squander the opportunity, I hope this message reaches you, and I hope it hits you in the heart. I hope it drives you to want to do something better with your life, not only for yourself, but for your kids and the people that look up to you. There's an opportunity ahead for all of us in this country, in this world, in our own communities, and our families especially. If you want to be better, choose to be better. Assess your situation, assess your responsibilities, but mainly assess your actions and the feelings that are attached to them. If you want to do better, you can do better, but you have to do choosing it, and you have to start doing something to be the man that you desire to be known for when you die. Roll that intro. Welcome to the Man Up and Own It podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Reeves, and this episode is dedicated to the men that were locked up and chose to do something different with their lives, and also the men that are locked up or aren't locked up that aren't choosing, because I'm here with a special guest, Tracy
Kovach.
The man that changes people's lives and creates the opportunity for them to make a change in their life after they have lost their freedom.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my man. Now, can you tell me a little bit about your story?
Yeah. Whew. How much time do we got?
Well, we got like 30 minutes unless I mess up again.
All right. Well, yeah. So I grew up on the street with no family. I know there's a lot of people out there that, a lot of men out there that didn't have a mom or a dad or either one. I didn't have either one growing up. So I was just lost and broken and looking for direction in life. Ran into a bunch of renegade bikers in Orange County, California when I was young. After abuse of foster homes and everything else, living on the street in California. And then they kind of accepted me into their, at a young age and kind of taught me the ways of life. And
Right.
So I was excited that somebody cared about me.
Somebody wanted you.
Right. Because I felt I was just broken. I didn't feel like anybody loved me or anybody wanted me. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. So it led to a whole life of destruction.
How old were you when that happened?
I was I was left in a foster home when I was 6, I want to say.
Okay.
7. And then there was a whole bunch of stuff that happened, abuse of foster homes and so forth, all the way until I was like 13 or 14. And then that's when I was on the street in Orange County, California.
Interesting. So at the age of about 14, you were learning how to be a man from destruction, basically.
Yeah.
Which is a tragic. And there's probably a significant amount of men out there that face the same situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what happened after you got involved with that?
Whole bunch of stuff. So I ended up having police contact like 37 times as a juvenile.
Wow.
I was arrested and burglarizing things and stealing things and doing drugs, started doing meth at a very young age. So went to juvenile hall for burglarizing a police officer's house in Fullerton, California.
Wow.
Yeah. I could pick any house in the whole place, but I had to pick a police officer's house.
All right, go big or go home.
Right. So I ended up getting a year in juvenile hall, and then I escaped from juvenile hall. So then when they caught me 3 months later, they put me in juvenile hall until I turned 18. It was just before I turned 17 when that happened. Okay. So I sat in juvenile hall until I was 18. Just mad. I was so mad because I had no parents to get released to, so they had to keep me in there. So I was just mad. I did nothing but lift weights the whole time and got out 205 pounds, just ripped with an attitude to smash everybody in the world. So
with a chip on your shoulder.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
All right. So you get out. What's the next step?
So then I started. Now I'm big, and now I'm mean, and now I have no direction, and I don't want to listen to anybody, and I have nobody to direct me, no parents, and I had just started robbing drug dealers and going after everybody that ever abused me, because when I went in, I was just a kid. When I got out in that year, I grew up pretty fast.
Do you know superheroes? You know who you remind me of? Spawn. Yeah, and if you don't know him, I would encourage for you to look up. Yeah. So you started like being Robin Hood in a way.
Yeah.
Going out trying to be the vigilante.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, I started robbing drug dealers that sold drugs to women on welfare and kids. So I was kind of like,
Okay.
Well, I just kind of felt like I was stuck in a world I didn't belong in, and I figured I'm going to give back. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, so.
Which in a roundabout way, you kind of did.
Right, kind of, but I was worse than any of them. I did that for many years. I started going to county jail now for a number of different things, and then I escaped again. So
you're like a regular Houdini.
Yeah, yeah. There's some mistakes I made, so some serious mistakes. Right. So at the same time, I'm injecting massive amounts of heroin and meth, and just living on the street and just looking for opportunity to just do anything. So I didn't care. At that point, I didn't care if I lived or died. It didn't matter to me. I didn't have anything to live for, and I didn't think anyone loved me. And I had this hate and this rage against the world that I was going to take out on everybody around me. So I just did. So that went on for a very long time. It went on for years. So I ended up injecting meth and heroin for 26 years.
26 years?
Yeah, massive amounts. Yeah.
And earlier you told me, how old are you?
58.
So for almost half of your life, you were injecting horrible drugs, like hardcore drugs.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, like, I'm an image consultant, right? Personal trainer. You look great for 58.
Well, thank you very much.
Considering the circumstances too, like I would have never guessed that you had done that to your body other than you telling me.
Right. Yeah. Well, I did a lot of time too locked up. So
right.
I did over 10 years locked up in 13 different prisons in California and Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah. So I became a gang leader. I didn't want anybody to ever beat on me again. So I just felt that I needed to get big. That was at one point I was benching 425 and squatting 775. So yeah, I was doing skull crusher back arms with 3 wheels with 315 pounds. So
most of y'all out there can't even bench 3 plates.
I was a little out of control.
This dude's over here. And mind you, he probably didn't have any steroids.
I didn't have no steroids.
Y'all better be careful.
It's a good thing I didn't, because I don't know. Yeah, if I would have had steroids, I probably wouldn't be able to move my neck right now. I'd have no neck.
That's a whole nother level of addiction.
Right.
All right. So now you've been locked up multiple times. What was the breaking point for you?
Well, I mean, after a while of doing that, at first, when I first started doing drugs, I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I thought it was the best thing. And as time went on, I used to kid myself and say I could stop doing it anytime I want, but I couldn't. After time went on, after the first 15 years of doing meth, it was just I was just broken. You know what I mean? I couldn't get away from it. I could say out of my mouth I wanted to quit, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
It was the people I hung around too. I mean, I had all of my friends and what I called my family were this group of people that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hang out in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. I say that all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I would get out of jail and I would go back to my neighborhood and show everyone how good I look because I've been working out, and then start drinking beers and then a 6-pack and a 12-pack, and then I'm drunk, and then I start doing meth and I'm off and running again. And then somebody makes me mad and I beat them up and take their drugs or take their stuff. And that was a vicious cycle in my life. So, in 2007, in 95, I finished my prison number in California and came here to Arizona. And I came here to Arizona to see if I could come out here and hold a job. I never worked in my life, so I didn't know if I could hold a job. So I just wanted to do something different because I knew I didn't want to do that the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was stuck.
Yeah.
And then I was doing drugs still on the weekends, drove a tow truck for a while. And the problem was I brought me with me. So I was running from me and I brought me here. So I ended up catching 7 more felonies out here.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ended up robbing drug dealers out here. And I took out like 65 households of what I thought were bad actors in that community by myself. I got shot in the throat with a 9mm in 2000 robbing a drug dealer, shot in the arm, and I was stabbed 7 times. So it was interesting. Yeah, it's like the Old West out here. I robbed people in California forever, and I come out here and I get shot, stabbed, beat, ran over.
Yes, sir. All right. So it's interesting. Like we're creatures of habits, and you probably got into an uncomfortable situation, didn't know what to do, so you fell back into what you knew that you could
Exactly.
do.
I just was doing what I knew how to do. So yeah, it was a vicious cycle. So, and it happens all the time. I see guys all the time, like my friends now. I see them get out and they want to do good, and then they go back to their homeboy's house and want to again show them how good they look, or they want to help them. They want to. I'm going to go back to my hood and I'm going to help some people. Well, listen, get rooted and grounded before you do that, because if you're going back and you're not even stable yourself, it might not turn out well.
Well, sometimes I feel like it's a means of validation. They need that attention because most likely that they never got it, and so they yearn for it, right?
Exactly.
And it brings me back to what you were saying all the way back into your childhood, that you didn't feel like you belonged. You didn't feel like anybody wanted you.
Right.
And then the minute somebody did want you, it wasn't necessarily good for you.
Right.
But that's what you knew. That's what you knew that you could get, and you were okay with that.
Right. And I built an identity in that.
Absolutely.
So in 2007, the sheriffs drove a tank into my house. And,
What?
Yeah.
A full-blown tank.
An armored car.
Okay.
Into my house, looking for a meth lab and a chop shop. It was all over the news. It was May 22nd, 2007, 5:30 in the morning. So
Holy snaps.
and my blood pressure was 263 over 210 when they drove that armored car into my house. I was maxed. So yeah, I was from injected meth. So
Yeah, absolutely.
the jail wouldn't even take me because my blood pressure was so high.
Hey, you
So-
were a risk. Right?
yeah. So they kept sending me back to the hospital 4 times. And then I actually went into the jail, and I was looking at pretty much the rest of my life in prison. If I fought my cases, they were going to charge me with a meth lab and a chop shop. They had me for three counts of threatening a witness, stolen Harley Davidson, a whole bunch of stuff. So if I would have fought all those and lost, I would have got about 35 to 100 years in prison.
And so what did you do?
So I went to a church service is what I did. So never knew God, never touched the Bible in my life. I always said I was God. And I went to a church service in the county jail. Little stocky little Mexican guy all tattooed out goes, "Hey bro, let's go to church." And I'm like, "Get out of here, dude. I am God." Because I just thought there was no God and I was God.
Right.
So I went to that church service, ended up giving my life to Jesus June 28, 2007 in the county jail.
Okay.
Yeah, I fought my case for 14 months in the county jail with the Lord, and I got 2 years instead of 35.
Oh,
and said
wow.
I'll never stop following the Lord, and I never have to this day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's get out of the tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it built your character.
Yeah.
But what did it bring you into doing that you're doing right now?
So I actually go back into the jails and prisons now, and I go in there to minister, and I see all my homeboys and partners in there going, dude, what are you doing coming back? You know what I mean? I just tell them, I come to tell you the truth now. I lied to you guys for years. There's more to life than all this. I just never thought there was more to life. I thought I had ruined my life so bad I could never have a life. I never had anything. I never went anywhere. And then I realized when the last time I was in prison, I went to a prison yard that had all kinds of different programming and classes. I got 18 college credits for building trades. I got my OSHA certification. I took every class you can possibly think of, every program, became a pod pastor and a praise and worship leader in the prison instead of taking over the yard for the gangs like I used to.
I like how you talked about that right there.
Yeah.
You made a choice to do something different.
Yeah.
You could have gone the easy route, in which became what'd you call that? The yard master?
Yeah.
Or you could become the master of the arts, right? And you went and learned skills and trades to be able to actually give you value.
Yeah. I just wanted to see if I could do something different. It didn't make any sense that I couldn't. I see people all around me that have stories and they're living life. And I'm like, listen, I can do that. So
why not me?
Right. So
instead of why me,
right. Why not me? Exactly. So now I've been clean and sober now going on 17 years. I've been out for going on 15 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I work for a company called New Freedom. So I'm actually on the nonprofit side, which is New Freedom Project.
Okay.
So New Freedom is a program that brings in inmates directly from prison to the facility. So it used to be a 4-point Sheraton hotel on the I-17 in Peoria.
Okay.
So we're bringing inmates directly from prison to us through a mentorship program that we send letters into them on the yard. So
okay.
We help them. I mean, the biggest thing, so when I first started working there, I remember they called me and said, hey, they wanted to offer me a job. And I was like, doing what? And they're like, we need a workforce development director. I'm like, that sounds awesome. What is that? Okay, what do I do?
Like, cool.
Yeah, yay. Better figure that out. I started YouTube. Good thing for YouTube. So I just started going out there and bringing in all of the community partners, all of the employers, all of the housing, because I just thought about what did I need when I got out? That was my main thought. Every time I got out, my PO would tell me, I'm going to this drug-infested, bed-bug-infested halfway house. I'm going to pay my rent. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to pay parole fees. And meanwhile, I'm standing in there without an ID. So,
and you have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's almost probably easier just to
go back.
Go back.
That's what I always did. I was just like, yeah, whatever, catch me when you can.
And so if it's happening to you.
It's happening to a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we graduate 120 when we're at capacity a month.
A month.
So we in the 90 days they're there, we get them their ID, social security cards, birth certificates, driver's licenses, if we can. We get them jobs, housing, and then they work with therapists on site that help them figure out what the traumas were. Like for me, my traumas were my parents leaving me. Mm-hmm. So when I actually forgave them in my heart for real, it was like 1,000,000 pounds lifted off of me. Right. I never realized that all this hate and rage I had that I took out on the whole world was against my parents. Right. Until I actually forgave them. I'm like, wow, and then get this, I have a son that's living on the street doing heroin and fentanyl.
Okay.
And here I hated my parents for leaving me. My son, I never really knew him. My brother raised him because I was always in prison.
Right.
And he actually was married to the same girl, and had 3 kids with her too. But so he got together with her when my son was 3, but I was too busy going to prison to even realize.
Got you.
So when I get my life together, I get a message from my son going, hey, I want to move in with you with this girl, my girlfriend that's pregnant with, it's not my baby, and we're both doing heroin. I want to just move into your house. I'm like, what? No, listen, I know you. I was you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's get you into a program. And then as soon as you finish the program, I have no problem with you moving in with me. And he cussed me out, and I haven't seen him since. But
I'm sorry.
So, I know. So here's me, my whole life, having this hate and rage against my parents for what they did to me, not realizing I have a son out there that thinks the same way about me. And that really humbled me. That really made me have a long conversation with him when I had the opportunity and just tell him my story and tell him to please forgive me. So yeah, it was a dynamic.
So when's the last time you talked to your son?
It was 2012 or 13, I think, something like that.
All right, we're going to do something a little bit different right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel the need at this moment. If you could give a message to your son, I'd like you to do that.
Okay. Well, I just want to tell him I'm sorry, and just tell him that I just want to tell you, look, I'm just going to talk right to you, and just tell you that I'm sorry. I was messed up, and I know where you're at, and I know you feel like nobody cares, and I care. I haven't seen you for a long time. I've looked for you, and I know you don't want to see me, and that's okay. I understand that. But when you're ready, I'm here for you. So hopefully you'll get to see this, or somebody you know will see this, and you can reach out to me, and we can try to build a relationship with each other.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I relate because my dad, as he was there, he wasn't there. My dad worked all the time, and he wasn't a good father to me because his dad wasn't a good father. And I understand that perpetuated cycle. So for your son, what's his name?
Anthony,
just understand, as fathers, we do the best we can with the information that we have. And at a certain point in your life, you're going to understand that too. And it may not be right now, but from a former addict myself, I would encourage you to value your life and to see that you're worth something. Your father's here and has made changes and is willing to admit that he made a mistake and wants to right wrongs when you're willing and capable. And I'm proud of you. And I'm proud to have you here with me for this, because there's a lot of men, boys out there that need to hear this exact same message, because maybe their parent died and they don't get to hear this.
Right.
But I can guarantee you that now their parent wishes that they could say this. So if you're out there and you're having a difficult time and your parents didn't necessarily give you what you needed, just know that there's people out there like Tracy, like myself, that are willing to listen to you. So you can be heard, so you can be seen, because you are valuable. And our society needs you, but we need you to be the best version of yourself so we can all coexist and to create something that we can all be proud of together.
absolutely.
Now, we're going to change this up a little bit. Enough sadness. What is it to you about your image that sends a message to other people? How does that mean? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot, because for me, I mean, my whole body's covered in tattoos. So from my neck to my feet. So I can go into a neighborhood and I can walk right into the hood with shorts on and a t-shirt and talk to anybody there, which is really it's pretty cool. But I can also put on a suit jacket and dress nice and go talk to the governor and senators and like you had said, I mean, you'd be surprised how many people I talk to and they have no idea what my story is.
Right.
And I'm sitting there talking to whoever, and they're like, I would have never guessed that from you, which is, I appreciate that. So that's pretty cool. That gives me some introspectiveness to where I'm paying attention more to how I look, which has a lot to do with how I feel, which has to do with how I act.
Amen.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not benching 425 and squatting 775 anymore, but I try to stay in the gym regularly.
Right. And you're also not trying to prove something to yourself.
Right.
Because I believe that there comes a certain point, and I was guilty of it, that I started to do things to validate myself that ended up being negative. Like training for me, I went to the gym and started working out because I was called stick boy and beanpole, and I was beat up all the time. I'm an only child, and my mom had me at 38. They couldn't relate to me. And so I used lifting weights to protect myself, which ended up becoming my biggest curse.
Right.
And I'm sure that you face the same situation, especially being in prison, right?
Yeah.
You had to be this big, tough guy that nobody could hurt.
Right.
So for the guys out there that are following in the same footsteps, what advice would you give them?
Man, find something different. That's all I got to say. Just because what you're doing is not it. Believe me, I did it all, and it's just not it. So there's a lot of people nowadays out there that want to help. A lot of people out there that have been where you're at that we want to help. So we're here to help. If I can talk to somebody, like I go into the prisons and jails and do ministry. And when I go in there, these guys, it's interesting because I don't go in there to tell them something. I go in there to show them, because I'm only one of 3 people with a history like mine that's fully badged to go in every prison in Arizona.
Interesting.
Every county jail in Maricopa County and Pinal County. So, and when I go in there, because people see me go in there that knew who I was and did time and crime with me, and they're like, dude, it doesn't make sense. I know you changed your life, but how? Now they're asking questions.
Right.
So now I get to speak into their lives, and people don't understand. There's a whole world out there of people like us that were in addiction that are now doing good. Some of us we're a little bit worse than others, but all of our stories are exactly the same, and all of us have the opportunity to help everybody with our stories, because there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with a lot of addictions, and not just drugs either. So there's just a lot of addictions.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all the way from working out. I mean, working out at one point became an addiction for me as well.
Right. Like, I'm sure you can agree to this. Like, if you didn't get your workout in, you were a terror to deal with.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I had to go for more.
Right.
Yeah, I got stuck at 390 on the bench, and I was not. No, I'm going over 4.
And then trying to deal with you was also probably very difficult. Then.
Difficult. Yeah, because I didn't. Yeah, well, especially back in the day, I was like, I wasn't somebody you ask questions to, because I'll just punch you in your face. So I'm better now. So you can talk. You can talk to me now.
Do I dare ask you any more questions?
Well, I learned that wasn't the way, and I try to speak into people's lives that are coming out of that. And when that's ingrained in your life, when you spend your whole life trying to be have that image, trying to protect yourself from whatever it is that could possibly hurt you in a world like that, it could be anything at any time. Right. So when you can. When you're in that world, then it's really tough to get out. But there's so many of us, like I said, that are out there now that really want to help.
All right, I got a good question for you.
Okay.
And it's one that I ask all my clients when we first start the program. Who is the man Tracy wants to be remembered as at his funeral?
I want to be remembered as a person that was able to be an example of what it looks like to change, or what it looks like to live a life. So I want to be remembered as somebody that loved somebody, so that people can't say, well, that guy didn't love anybody. I mean, if I would have died back in my old life, there's no...
You'd have been known as the out of control.
Oh, good thing that guy died.
Right, absolutely.
Right.
All right, so now that you've described what are you remembered as, what are the actions that you have to take to be remembered as that person?
So I just have to be really introspective. I got to pay attention to who I am and what I do. I've seen a lot of things in life, and I know exactly what it is like to be that person that nobody wants to be around or talk to, and do destructive things. So now I see that already. I see it already. I know what that looks like. So now I just make sure that I'm not that person anymore. So what does it look like to be a person? You just got to really look into yourself. You got to always be paying attention to what you say, how you act, where you're at. If something triggers you, don't punch somebody in the face, because you know what I mean? It does. The results of that is going back to prison. So.
It's really interesting because we laugh at that in a way, but there's a lot of people that just doesn't correlate with them.
Right. Because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people I know that grew up, that was the way you got somebody's attention. If you punch them in their face and knock them down, I guarantee you they're not going to get up and say whatever they said to you again.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of this protection mode type thing. So,
what do we do with the children? We spank them, right? They know never to do that again.
Yep. Quote
unquote. But unfortunately, that doesn't work so well for children or even as adults.
No. It just doesn't. There's just no life in that. I mean, there's people that think that that's their life. And I used to always think, I'm not going to bow down to nobody. Ain't nobody's going to tell me what to do. And I just thought I was the baddest thing around. And I just wasn't, and I'm not.
And what were the repercussions of that mentality?
Prison over and over again. Jail over and over again. Always have to watch over my back. Always have to think somebody's out to get me. Always have to be one up everybody. When I see somebody that's got a lot of energy and maybe they could be a threat to me, I got to be a higher level of threat.
You know what I heard?
It's a lot of work.
I heard that you lost your freedom. And you lost your freedom before you ever even went to prison.
Yeah.
You were always like, it's almost an insecure moment that you're having to prove something.
Absolutely.
And then you never truly get to be yourself.
No, never. Yeah. It was a lot of work to hate people. It wore me out to hate people.
Isn't that an interesting concept? Like, it wore you out to hate people. Now, imagine all the people out there that can make a huge change in their life if they started loving themselves and loving other people.
Yeah.
So when you go into the prisons, what's the biggest message that you give to the guys to inspire them for hope?
I just tell them, listen, guys, you have a PhD in life. The things you know, you can't get out of a book. You can get a PhD in the world. I go, but people cannot get a PhD that you have without living what you've lived. And I don't recommend they do that. I go, so take the PhD that you have in life, the things you've seen, the things you've done, take that and make a life for yourself. Don't go back. Listen, you know the results of this, the things that you've been doing, the same thing over and over and over again. It's like punching yourself in the eye and wondering why you got a black eye every day.
Imagine that.
Right. So I just tell them, look, there's more to life than all this. But not just telling them, but showing them. Yep. Because everybody in the world never thought in a million years that I, Tracy Kovach, would ever have a life. They just thought I would die robbing somebody or in prison. And so that, I mean, seriously, that really gets people's attention. I love it. I have fun with it. And I give God all the glory for that because the Lord changed my whole heart. Yep. So when guys see me going to the, I get a kick out of it, walking into prison. I see guards that I used to know when I was doing time, and they're like, what the heck are you doing back there?
Right. And think about that. You're even inspiring the guards that may not necessarily believe that the guys in there can make a change.
Exactly.
So now all of a sudden you're giving them hope that they don't have to see these guys keep coming back.
Yes. So the lead detective that drove a tank into my house in 2007 actually had me come to the sheriff's department some years back and speak to all of his officers that were just going out into the field at their briefing. It was one of the toughest crowds I ever spoke to because they were just all in pounce mode. They're a bunch of young, gung-ho little officers getting ready to go deal with people who I used to be. He wanted me to come there and talk to his officers and tell my story because they never seen this side of it. They've always seen just who I used to be kind of side of it.
Isn't that kind of interesting? Like they are living the same exact life of the people that they're going after.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's a good way to put it. I never thought of that, but yeah. So here's another thing. So one time I went to a church and I spoke at a church and I was at a men's breakfast. It's like 150 guys there. And I told my story there. And after I was done speaking, 5 guys approached me and introduced themselves as Maricopa County Sheriffs. So I'm like, uh-oh. I'm trying to think, what did I say? I hope I didn't incriminate myself. Well, 3 of them said they were active and 2 said they were retired. And one of the guys that was retired, he goes, you know what I used to do for the sheriff's department, Mr. Kovach? I go, what? He goes, I used to drive that armored car. He goes, I'm the one that drove the armored car into your house that day. Oh my God. I was like, oh, I gave him a big old hug. And I said, man, I love you. You saved my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you put association to that, not, oh, you're the one that ran through my house.
You're right.
You're the one that saved my life.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that put me in a spot where I had to be held accountable.
Yeah. My thinking was all wrong. And I can say that today. I can tell people out there, I was wrong about everything I said and everything I did. I was absolutely wrong. Yep. So my thinking was all messed up. I was wrong. I remember when I spoke at Sheriff Joe's banquet, I spoke at Sheriff Penzone's banquet. And people ask me, I go into the prison and I said that to to the guys on the yard. And one guy goes, so what do you think of the sheriffs now, bro? They drove a tank in your house. I go, it wasn't their fault they drove a tank into my house. They didn't just pick up a phone book and put their finger on my name and decide they're going to. I was doing things that provoked them to drive an armored car into my house.
Imagine that. So we get what we deserve from the actions that we take.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, so we're about to wrap it up. If there is something out there that you have to tell the men of this world for them to be a better versions of themselves, in one sentence, what would it be?
You can do something different with your life. There's more to life than all of what you're doing. If you're stuck in addiction or whatever it is, the life that I live, crime, time, all that, there is more to life than all that. And you can come out of that. And there's lots of people that want to help you. So just get with them. They will help you. Reach out to somebody and don't isolate yourself. And believe me, you're not the baddest thing in your little cell. There's... It's a waste of time and it's a waste of life. I wasted so much time and so much of my life doing all of that because I just didn't want to do anything else. I didn't think I could and I didn't know that I could. So just do something different. There's people out here that want to help you and we're here.
You heard it straight from Tracy Kovach. And I want you to know that you have already started doing something to possibly make a difference in your life by watching this podcast. And if you need help and you want to meet somebody like Tracy, you're going to find his information in the bottom of the comments. And I encourage you to reach out to him, or reach out to me, or reach out to someone living the life that you want to be living, and give it a chance for help. Because it's up to you to make a difference in your life. And this is the Man Up and Own It podcast, where we give stories and experiences hoping to motivate you to make a change in your life, to be the best version of yourself, so our families can have examples of men and our communities can have men to show them the standards of living. Thank you for watching the Man Up and Own It podcast.